What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode. Dr. Mike Axler here, PhD in kinesiology and applied physiology, professor of exercise science, and 60-plus time marathoner and ultramarathoner. Let me ask all of you a question, and please answer this honestly for yourself. Do you take your sleep and recovery habits as seriously as your training and your diet? This doesn't matter if you're an athlete, if you're a competitive, recreational, or if you're relatively healthy, sedentary, a gym goer, whatever. If you follow some sort of gym split, like a push-pull legs or a full body split, or you're training for a 5K or a marathon, do you hone in on your training? Do you hone in on your diet? And also, do you hone in on your sleep? Because if we don't really focus a lot of our day-to-day on the rest and recovery, then the training's not going to take hold. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. We know that sleep in general is going to play a huge role in our accordingly athletic performance. We should all know that sleep deprivation specifically does reduce key factors involved in athletic performance, such as reaction time, our accuracy, and our endurance. And we're going to be talking a whole lot about that today. Further on this, research does support that competitive athletes specifically, who do get 8 to 10 plus hours of sleep per night, consistently see improvements in cognition or cognitive performance, such as their abilities to make better decisions and their coordination, which for highly intense and strategy-based sports can very much be the deciding factor between who wins and who does not win. Even partial sleep restriction, such as 6 hours, which I know that I only get like 6 hours, but that is considered partial sleep restriction. This has been known to impair factors such as sprint speed, time to exhaustion, and overall athletic performance. Our body just isn't going to perform as well as it otherwise would if we are partially sleep deprived. And REM sleep specifically, which we'll be detailing about more in today's video, is vital for motor skill consolidation, which we know is going to be incredibly important for sport-specific tasks and drills. You could think about just throwing a baseball or softball, catching it, hitting it, dribbling a basketball, remembering different plays, remembering where to go, where to block, etc. Sleep is also important for recovery, as we began to allude to at the beginning of this video. That's on the performance end of things we talked about before, but now with recovery, let's talk about why this is important. So, deep sleep, which we'll be detailing more about today, or aka slow wave sleep or SWS sleep, is when most of our tissue repair, muscle growth, and recovery does occur. We have increases in growth hormone or GH, which is going to be released specifically during our deep slow wave sleep, which, as we know, for any well-meaning and hardworking athlete who does want to get stronger, faster, more powerful, and more efficient, is crucial for recovery and long-term physiological adaptations. Inadequate sleep has been known to increase DOMS, or delayed onset muscle soreness, which does prolong recovery time and can decrease training adaptations. Taken together, better sleep, unsurprisingly, equates to greater muscle protein synthesis, or MPS, and faster glycogen replenishment. But more on this to come. Thirdly, sleep and hormonal health. We're going to be talking a lot about hormones today. While getting one poor night of sleep isn't all that fun or advantageous in the way of performing your best, chronic sleep loss, by contrast, can reduce your total testosterone by upwards of 10 to 15% in just 1 week. Impaired sleep also increases cortisol, which I'm sure a lot of you know is going to be the stress hormone, which does hinder muscle building and fat loss. Insulin sensitivity, which we've talked a whole lot about on this channel with the context of metabolic syndrome and type 2 diabetes, does worsen. So insulin sensitivity does worsen with even short-term sleep restriction, which, as we know, negatively impacts metabolism and, again, body composition. I hope you're seeing a theme here with regards for decreases in body composition when we aren't sleeping and recovering enough. Adequate sleep does support, however, leptin and ghrelin balance. And leptin and ghrelin are the satiety and hunger hormones, respectively, aiding in a healthy and advantageous body composition, meaning we will have more muscle mass and less fat mass, which is great to have. So today we'll be talking more about sleep and the roles it plays in athletic performance, recovery, and hormonal health, as well as the most up-to-date scientific strategies in order to maximize our sleep and recovery so that we can feel and be healthy in the short term, and as always, progress day to day, week to week, month to month, and year to year. So if that sounds interesting, let's continue to press on. So in this first section, I want to sell you on the idea of why sleep is important for athletes and all of us as well who are not specifically competing in anything. We're going to focus on a couple of main things here before we get on to some science-backed strategies. So number one, during deep sleep, as we said, slow wave sleep or SWS sleep, growth hormone is going to be released the most amount as we will throughout the day. So during this deep sleep, this is when the body shifts into a high recovery state. You can be recovering when you're kicking your feet up on the couch and relaxing, but during deep sleep or slow wave sleep, this is your highest recovery state throughout the day. Deep sleep is characterized by delta brainwaves, reduced sympathetic nervous system activity, and increased parasympathetic tone, which are all ideal conditions for repair. And to put some numbers into this, around 70% of daily growth hormone secretion occurs during slow wave sleep. And this is going to be especially happening during the first half of the night. And as we'd begun to describe previously, growth hormone promotes tissue repair, collagen synthesis, and muscle protein synthesis, especially after intense training and injury. Poor sleep, on the other hand, does blunt growth hormone release, which does result in less muscle repair, slower recovery times, and blunted adaptations to training. Further on this, resistance training can also increase the amount of deep sleep in the following night. And what this suggests is a bidirectional relationship where resistance training, aka lifting weights, does make you more tired, which increases the need for more sleep to recover. So it's just a very positive cycle of you lift weights, you go through resistance training, therefore you want to sleep, so you have to give yourself that time to rest and recover. Second, on why sleep matters for athletes, we have number two, which is going to be REM sleep. And REM sleep is going to be important for cognitive recovery, skill learning, and emotional balance. So REM sleep, which does stand for rapid eye movement sleep, is most abundant in the second half of the night. So if you cut that short, REM obviously suffers. REM is critical for motor skill consolidation, such that practicing a skill such as sprinting mechanics, dribbling a ball, highly technical lifts like the Olympic lifts, followed by a full restful night of sleep, can enhance retention and precision. Further, REM also supports cognitive flexibility, creativity, and decision-making, which are all important for athletes in dynamic environments such as soccer, basketball, and other team-based sports and combat sports. Emotionally, REM sleep dampens amygdala overactivity, which does lower stress reactivity and anxiety, which are both hugely important in sports and, of course, life. And sleep-deprived athletes show increased risk-taking and poor judgment, both of which can negatively affect in-game performance and even training decisions. Let's now talk about sleep deprivation specifically and put some numbers to this. So just 1 to 2 nights of 4 to 5 hours of sleep does cause a decrease in testosterone by the way of 10 to 15%, which we detailed before. And that's probably going to be the scariest thing for young men. Again, just 1 or 2 nights, which include just 4 to 5 hours of sleep, can increase cortisol, our stress hormone, which promotes muscle breakdown and inhibits fat loss. Further, just 1 to 2 nights of sleep, of 4 to 5 hours of sleep, decreases insulin sensitivity by upwards of 30%, which mimics early onset type 2 diabetes, which is bananas to think about. And lastly, just 1 to 2 nights of 4 to 5 hours of sleep does decrease reaction time by 200 to 300 milliseconds. And that's comparable to legal intoxication. And any sport which relies quite literally on split seconds decisions then does suffer. If this then turns into chronic sleep restriction and not just 1 or 2 nights of 4 to 5 hours, but chronically, an athlete can experience reductions in VO2 max, anaerobic performance, and motivation to train. So quite literally, they're taking an impact on their cardiovascular system, their respiratory system, and their musculoskeletal system, which is insane. Sleep-deprived athletes often consume more calories, especially from highly palatable foods such as sugar and fats, due to altered leptin and ghrelin levels. And these highly palatable foods become even more palatable, so it's called a positive feedback loop, and harder to metabolize because of the sleep deprivation, leading to a vicious cycle of more body fat gain and less muscle mass. And lastly, immune function is also impaired, due in part to decreases in natural killer cell activity, meaning higher risk of illness during intense training cycles. So, with all of the science detailed on why we should prioritize both the quality and the quantity of sleep we get each night, let's now discuss the science of how we can accomplish becoming better sleepers and therefore better athletes. And the first place we are going to start to discuss on is the circadian rhythm. Number 1, if you can, go to bed and wake up at the same time every day, or at least plus or minus around 30 minutes. So our brain's master clock, which is called the SCN, or the suprachiasmatic nucleus, governs our circadian rhythms. If you keep your sleep-wake cycle relatively consistent, this helps our SCN maintain stable melatonin and cortisol rhythms, which does directly impact alertness and recovery. Research does show that irregular sleep patterns are linked to lower sleep quality, higher levels of daytime fatigue, and impaired cognitive and physical performance, even when total sleep time remains constant. So if you think that you're going to get, 6, 7, 8 hours of sleep, you're going to chop it up throughout the night and you're going to be okay, what the research points to is that that's not the case. You need to consistently go through these sleep-wake cycles again and again and again throughout the night. Number 2, on how to lock in your circadian rhythm is maximize daylight exposure early on in the day. Morning sunlight helps synchronize our internal clocks to the SCN, boosting morning cortisol, which very much should be high in the AM, as this is also going to suppress melatonin production, signaling the body that it's time to be alert. Even just getting 10 to 20 minutes of outdoor light exposure within 1 to 2 hours of waking is enough to anchor your circadian rhythm and improve nighttime melatonin release, which will then lead to a deeper, more restful sleep. Number 3, on how to lock in your circadian rhythm is to dim your lights around 2 hours before bed. We know that bright lights in the evening, especially overhead and blue-rich lights, does suppress melatonin, which, if I didn't already detail what melatonin is a hormone released by the pineal gland, which makes us tired. We should know that. And this is going to delay the body's natural signal to initiate sleep. Dimming the lights, however, does mimic dusk, which does tell our brain it's time to wind down. Athletes who adjust their lighting environments before bed experience improved sleep onset latency, which just means they fall asleep faster. and they spend more time in restorative, deep, slow wave sleep, which are both critical for recovery. And lastly, on how to lock in your circadian rhythm is to avoid screens or use blue light blockers. Screens from laptops, phones, tablets, televisions emit blue light around 460 nanometers of wavelength, which does strongly suppress melatonin. In fact, one study showed that just 1 hour of screen use before bed did delay melatonin production by upwards of 1.5 hours, which is bananas because a lot of people fall asleep watching TV or trying to watch TV and then fall asleep. If you must use screens, however, do your best to use blue light blocking glasses or device filters like the night shift on your phone or your laptop, as this can reduce the impact. Still, avoiding screens altogether for at least 1 hour before bed is going to be most effective. Talk to a friend, talk to your partner, read a book or journal, right? Try and get off your screens. The second strategy on how we can get the most restful sleep is to take advantage of your sleep environment. So what we're going to have are 4 different things here. Number 1 is going to be, if you can, because I know it's summer right now and it's very expensive to cool down your house, is to cool your room temperature to around 60 to 67 degrees Fahrenheit or around 16 to 19 degrees Celsius. Our core body temperature naturally does drop at night as part of our circadian rhythm. So sleeping in a cooler room helps signal the body that it's time to rest, which enhances sleep onset and time spent in slow wave sleep, which is vital for muscle repair and growth hormone release, as we know. Studies do show that room temperatures above 70 degrees can disrupt sleep by increasing wakefulness and reducing REM sleep, which is critical for neural recovery, memory consolidation, and hormone balance. And if you're one of those people who's always kicking off the sheets in the middle of the night, or you need to lay on your back because laying on your side or on your stomach is going to be too hot, do your best to put a fan in the room. That's what we do. Number 2, for dialing in your sleep environment, is to eliminate noise and light to the best of your abilities by using white noise machines and or blackout shades. Even low-level noise from traffic, neighbors, anything else that can cause noise during the night can trigger micro-arousals, which are brief awakenings that fragment your sleep and reduce total time in deep and REM stages of sleep, which are both incredibly important for recovery and cognitive function. Light exposure during sleep, especially ambient street light or electronics, can reduce melatonin secretion and alters sleep architecture. Blackout curtains and eliminating LED sources can enhance melatonin production, leading to a much deeper and restorative sleep. Alrighty, this third one's a bit controversial, but it is science-backed, and I figured I would throw this one in here, is trying to decrease or limit pets and kids interrupting you during your sleep cycles. Again, this is controversial, but this is just the science. I have no skin in the game here. So frequent sleep disruptions, even brief ones, as we had said, can interrupt the natural progression of you going through your sleep cycles. This can prevent you from getting enough deep sleep and REM sleep, both of which are needed for all of your tissue repair, your immune functioning, optimal testosterone, and growth hormone production. Even just like that choppy sleep, the microarousals can do this. Such that a 2020 Mayo Clinic study found that people who slept with pets in bed had more nighttime disturbances and lower sleep efficiency compared to those who did not. Even small disruptions can reduce your recovery capacity and mood stability for the next day. So again, controversial, but that's the science. Take with that as you will. And lastly, how to dial in or optimize your sleep environment is to get a comfortable mattress and pillow. Proper spinal alignment and pressure point support can reduce sleep disturbances and prevent waking up with aches and stiffness, especially important for athletes trying to enhance physical recovery between sessions. Sleep quality has been shown to improve significantly when subjects switch from older mattresses to newer ones, around a medium firm mattress more specifically. And this can directly correlate with improved next day performance, reduced perceived pain, and better mood, which are all important markers for recovery and training readiness. And if you're someone who gets 8 hours of sleep per night, 8 over 24 is 1/3, so you could be spending around 1/3 of your life in that bed. I understand some mattresses and some pillows can be expensive, but if you go for something a little bit newer, you try to find something on sale, that can really increase the quality of your sleep, which you do spend around 1/3 of your life in. And also, off the cuff here, with respect to proper spinal alignment, if you can, try and sleep in the fetal position, on your side, kind of curled up. If you think about that, sleeping on your side is going to take all of the pressure directly off of your spine if you were to otherwise sleep on your back or sleep on your stomach. So take with that as you will. Already the third strategy on how to increase our sleep quality, we're going to talk about nutrition and supplements for better sleep. Number one is to avoid caffeine after 2 p.m. because caffeine does have a half-life of around 5 to 7 hours. What this means with the half-life is that the half the dose is still active in your system several hours after consumption. Having caffeine too late in the day can delay melatonin production, increase sleep latency, so time to fall asleep, and reduce the amount of slow wave deep sleep that you get, even if you feel like you fall asleep fine. Even in studies looking at sleep architecture, having caffeine too late in the day did alter their circadian rhythm. Even a moderate dose of 100 to 200 milligrams of caffeine, which is maybe 1 to 2 cups of coffee, in the late afternoon can reduce total sleep time and sleep efficiency. For athletes, this equates to less growth hormone release at night, diminished glycogen restoration, and less central nervous system recovery. Second, alcohol does reduce REM sleep. So alcohol may make you fall asleep faster, but it does fragment sleep architecture, especially in the second half of the night, by suppressing REM sleep, which, as we remember, is the stage most associated with things like motor learning, memory consolidation, and emotional regulation. Consistent alcohol intake before bed leads to elevated resting heart rate, reduced heart rate variability or HRV, and increased nighttime core temperature, all of which blunt physiological recovery. This is especially detrimental for athletes needing high recovery capacity and hormonal balance. And this was some of the research that we did back in Delaware when we looked at resveratrol and grapes and potassium, in that can wine, and more specifically red wine, help you fall asleep? And that's a pretty broad, robust blanket statement. And as we're seeing here with alcohol in general, whether it's from like a liquor or a beer or wine, is that while alcohol does increase sleep latency, so it can help you fall asleep faster, it's not going to give you more restorative sleep. So alcohol is not good for you, we know that, but it's also really not going to be good for your sleep. Third, on the nutrition and supplements for better sleep, is magnesium glycinate, tart cherry juice, and glycine. All of these do have evidence of sleep support. So magnesium glycinate, first off, does help regulate GABA, which is a neurotransmitter which promotes relaxation. Supplementing with around 200 to 400 milligrams before bed can improve sleep onset latency and subjective sleep quality, especially in those with magnesium deficiencies or high training loads. And a lot of people are a little bit deficient in magnesium, a lot more than you think specifically, so this might be something to just think about and research for yourselves. Second, tart cherry juice is a natural source of melatonin and has been shown to improve total sleep time and sleep efficiency in athletes. Tart cherry juice also has anti-inflammatory effects, which may further aid muscle recovery. And lastly, glycine, taken in doses of around 3 grams before bed, has been shown to reduce core body temperature and improve sleep satisfaction, possibly by enhancing parasympathetic activity, which is our rest and digest system. And lastly, number 4, balanced evening meals does equate with more restful sleep. A meal containing a balance of carbs, protein, and healthy fats, or 3 macronutrients, around 2 to 3 hours before bed may improve tryptophan transport into the brain across the blood-brain barrier, and enhancing serotonin and melatonin production, which are both essential hormones for initiating and maintaining quality sleep. Skipping meals, by contrast, or eating too close to bed, especially high-fat meals, can lead to blood sugar spikes or GI distress during sleep, and apparently nightmares too. That's always like a tall tale. Conversely, a well-timed, nutrient-dense meal can promote stable blood glucose overnight, reduce nighttime awakenings, and support muscle repair and hormone balance like insulin and IGF-1, which then lead to growth hormone secretion. Awesome. So we detailed some of the sleep strategies that we can use. Now let's add a little bit of context. I thought this was fun to add this in here. These are some sleep habits of elite athletes. And right now, in sporting news, they're really talking a lot about load management and sleep discipline, in that we want to maximize our training, our nutrition, and now our sleep and recovery. So I was really excited to see that a lot of these athletes are focusing on their sleep. Number 1 is going to be Usain Bolt. And he was hot in the streets, an Olympic sprinter with a ton of world records. If you don't know who he is, look him up. He's the GOAT of sprinting. And he was probably in like 2, 3, 4 different Olympics for sprinting, which was like really equated to like a long, robust career. And Usain Bolt famously would say that sleep is part of my training, and for good reason too. He is a world record holding sprinter, and his training sessions included intense power output, central nervous system fatigue, and high volume technical drills. There was a lot more than just running. There was a lot of drills involved, a lot of power output, a lot of weightlifting, a lot of mobility. There's a great documentary on Netflix about Usain Bolt, and I really advise you watch it. It's cool. And without getting around 8 to 10 hours of quality sleep each night, his reaction time, his muscle recovery, and even more importantly, his hormonal balance from testosterone and growth hormone could have been compromised. Bolt reportedly aimed for 9 to 10 hours of total sleep each day, which included nighttime sleeping as well as naps as needed. Like many elite athletes, he trained once in the morning and once in the afternoon, which required optimal recovery between sessions. Without his quality sleep, he would not have been able to hit his peak speed outputs, which do depend on neuromuscular coordination and maximal power generation. Not too dissimilar from sprinting and needing like very fast power output, we have LeBron James, right? Probably the GOAT next to MJ. He sleeps anywhere from 8 to 10 hours per night, plus naps as needed. And he often takes, as we said, midday naps anywhere from 30 to 90 minutes. And LeBron specifically has very heavy NBA workloads, which includes around 40 minutes of game time, because he plays like the entire game and never sits. Loads of traveling, film review, weight training, skill development and practice. All of this places enormous stress on both his brain and his body. And as we know, he's like 40, 41 years old. He's been at this for like 22 seasons. So he could use as much recovery as possible. LeBron does, however, invest richly in recovery technology like sleep pods, cold plunges, biometric tracking, various nutritional supplements and chefs in order to monitor how well he's recovering and to make sure that he's back on his feet hour after hour. And he does reportedly spend upwards of $1 million a year, which may be what it takes to be in the league for 21, 22 seasons. Further, many Olympic teams now employ sleep scientists and various sleep coaches to help elite athletes nail down their sleep routines, especially leading up to various competitions. The scientists and coach monitor sleep latency, sleep duration, and sleep quality, and use data to adjust training times and even meal timing. And as an example of this, Team USA worked with sleep consultants during the Tokyo Olympics to help athletes adjust to the 13-hour time difference and avoid jet lag disrupting their performance. Athletes are now taught to periodize their sleep, just like they periodize their training. During peak training blocks, they focus on maximizing both the deep, slow wave sleep as well as the REM sleep, often through controlled light exposure, pre-sleep routines, and napping strategies. And these are all supported by various wearable technologies, and as we said, sleep consultants. Alrighty, lastly, on sleep habits of elite athletes, let's talk about naps real quick. So, short naps of around 20 to 30 minutes are often referred to as power naps, which you probably know, or cat naps, because they have been shown to boost alertness, motor learning, and reaction time without throwing off the circadian rhythm because it's only 20 or 30 minutes. For athletes, these naps can be a crucial tool to improve performance in late afternoon training or competition. And research, and I love this part, research does show that even one short nap can restore cognitive function after a night of sleep loss. So if you slept relatively poorly one night, but you take an afternoon nap, you can restore your cognitive functioning just enough to get through the rest of the day and have a successful training session. Athletes like Cristiano Ronaldo, Roger Federer, and Simone Biles have all been known to have napping as part of their daily routines, oftentimes building in nap windows to their training schedules. Some athletes even work with specialists to fine-tune nap timing and light exposure to avoid disrupting nighttime sleep. This is especially valuable during travel or competition prep, where sleep debt can accumulate very quickly. Awesome. So now let's detail some common mistakes to avoid, because we already went with some of the tips. Let's just talk about what to avoid if you can. Number one is inconsistent bedtimes. And this was something that we researched quite a bit when I was in grad school, and I thought it was pretty cool. So I wanted to add this in here. Going to bed at different times each night does throw off your circadian rhythm. Just like athletes follow structured training schedules, consistent sleep timing help regulates the release of melatonin and cortisol, allowing us to fall asleep faster and much more deeply and restful. Studies show that irregular sleep patterns, even with the same total sleep hours, lead to lower sleep quality, increases in daytime fatigue, and impaired cognitive and physical performance. Think of it like skipping warm-ups before every workout. It may not ruin your workouts right away, but it's going to start to chip away at your long-term progress. As I think this is like really, really cool, which is why in the beginning of this video we said if you can, go to sleep and wake up in a 30-minute window every single day. That's going to be awesome. Second common sleep mistake to avoid is avoid late night workouts. Exercising too close to bedtime, so around 1 to 2 hours before going to bed, can raise core body temperature, increase adrenaline, and elevate your heart rate, all of which can delay the onset of sleep. Our bodies, as we had said earlier, need to cool down and shift into parasympathetic mode, which is your rest and digest system, not stay in your sympathetic fight or flight mode. That said, not all evening workouts are harmful, because there are some caveats here. The intensity and timing of these workouts are going to matter the most. High intensity sessions late at night are more likely to disrupt sleep, while lower intensity sessions like walking, yoga, stretching, light cardio might actually promote sleep if they do reduce stress and tension. So what you can do with this information, if nighttime workouts are unavoidable, try and finish at least 90 minutes before bed and include a longer cool down or post-exercise relaxation routine, such as a hot shower, a bath, breath work, meditation, etc. You need to wind down. Third, doom scrolling in bed. Scrolling through your phone in bed keeps your brain stimulated and alert at the exact same time it should be winding down. Social media triggers emotional responses. Duh, we all know that. Dopamine spikes and mental activity that delay the onset of sleep and reduce time spent in deep and REM stages. The blue light as well, which we had discussed earlier, from cell phones, tablets, televisions, does suppress melatonin production, which is crucial for falling asleep and staying asleep. Even dark mode on your phone or the night shift does not fully eliminate the problem. Just 30 minutes of screen exposure before bed can shift your melatonin rhythm by over an hour, delaying sleep and reducing recovery. So what you can do is set a tech curfew. Stop your phone and laptop use around 30 to 60 minutes at least before bed, and keep your phone outside of the bedroom or just on airplane mode so you're not inclined to look at it. And lastly, on common sleep mistakes to avoid is high carbohydrate meals less than 1 hour before going to bed, as this can spike insulin and reduce melatonin production. Eating high carb meals right before bed increases blood glucose and insulin levels, which can interfere with our body's natural melatonin secretion. Melatonin, as we said, is key to initiating the sleep cycle, and elevated insulin does blunt this. You may fall asleep slower and experience more frequent night wakings. Mechanistically, a large or high glycemic meal late at night can lead to disrupted thermoregulation and increased nighttime awakenings, especially if it causes indigestion or raises core body temperature. That said, a small, balanced snack, especially with protein, 1 to 2 hours before can sometimes help with sleep, especially in athletes with high caloric needs. Awesome. So some key takeaways from today. Sleep helps with recovery, as we know. Sleep is not passive rest. It is a biological necessity that helps drive our performance, our learning, and our cellular repair. Inadequate sleep, by contrast, impairs strength, endurance, and even reaction time by as much as 300 milliseconds, which is enough to miss a sprint or a game-winning shot. Hormone health depends on sleep, as we had talked about today. Deep sleep, the deep slow wave sleep, increases growth hormone release, which is essential for muscle repair and fat metabolism. Poor sleep, on the other hand, increases cortisol, decreases testosterone, and blunts insulin sensitivity, harming training adaptations and body composition. Muscle recovery, as we had said, happens overnight. Muscle protein synthesis peaks during slow wave sleep, especially when adequate protein has been consumed throughout the day. That's a very positive thing. Sleep deprivation, by contrast, reduces recovery from delayed onset muscle soreness. It increases injury risk and lowers glycogen resynthesis. Sleep lowers inflammation. Athletes with poor sleep do have higher CRP and IL-6 levels, so C-reactive protein and IL-6 or interleukin-6, which are both markers of systemic inflammation, which can make us sick. Whereas quality sleep enhances immune system repair, reducing downtime from illness and overtraining. The best athletes, as we had detailed, such as LeBron James, Usain Bolt, and other Olympians, do get around 8 to 10 plus hours of sleep per night with naps as needed, and they very much use wearable tech to track their sleep recovery and efficiency. For common mistakes to avoid, we discussed inconsistent sleep schedules, wreck circadian rhythm, and impair hormonal balance. And blue light, caffeine later in the day, and high intensity training close to bedtime all interfere with our deep sleep. So the actionable takeaways, the TLDR from today's video: go to bed and wake up at the same time daily, even on the weekends. Avoid caffeine after 2 p.m. and intense workouts within 2 hours of sleep. Keep your bedroom dark, cool, around 65 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit, and tech-free. And lastly, use 20 to 30 minute naps strategically, ideally before 2 p.m. Awesome. So with that, I do want to thank all of you for tuning in today on this YouTube video or the podcast, however you took in this information. I do hope you learned a thing or two or three. I very much did in researching this and putting this together. Had a lot of fun doing it, and I'm excited to do more in the future. It is about that time of day when I'm going to go to the gym. I hope you do as well. But before that, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share this with a friend, as well as scrolling on down and subscribing to both my podcast, Simple Science with Mike Axler, where I do much more deep dives into the up-to-date, science-backed information with nutrition, performance, and longevity, as well as my Instagram, where I put in little bite-sized posts and reels throughout the day to keep you motivated and up to date with all the science. So with that, remember, consistency wins. Continue working hard today. I'll work hard today, and I'll catch you all in the next episode. Thanks for watching.